What is up, everybody? This is CJ, aka the Lone Wolf, coming to you here from the Wolf's Cave. If you see these right here, we are coming up on the World Cup pretty damn soon, and I'm really excited. I am looking forward to watching the games if I can just remind myself that it starts tomorrow. This is how close we have gotten. After about 3.5 years since the last World Cup, which was pretty much the winter World Cup, it wasn't as long as it was in previous World Cups where it was just summer. Um, if anybody remembers Qatar had to be played in the winter because in the summer it is scorching hot, like 120 plus degrees of hot. And I don't think any soccer team wants to deal with the sweltering heat of it and having to do constant water breaks, water timeouts, and all that stuff because then it's just going to drag. So yeah, just about 3.5 years later, we get the World Cup taking place in Mexico, in the U.S. and um, Mexico, U.S. and Canada. Sorry, Canada. Didn't want to forget you guys. Um, but yeah, this should be great. We increased from 32 teams to 48 teams, which is yeah, pretty big, but it should still run about the same as, the previous World Cups to where it just lasted for about a month. But there's more games, more teams with opportunities of getting in. And the craziest thing about it is it went from what used to be a 16 round knockout stage to a 32 team round knockout stage. So now it went from all first and second place teams qualifying for the round of 16 to, well, pretty much the same thing. First and second place teams in each group to advance to the round of 32. And then you have I'm trying to roughly look at this. 8 out of 12 teams, if I'm correct, that finished third place, that's trying to get into the round of 32. So pretty much if we're doing the math right there, the remaining 8 that's trying to qualify in amongst the remaining 24 teams that's trying to fight for a third place spot, they got a 34% chance of getting into the round of 16 at round of 32, sorry, as a third place team. And this is crazy. This is really crazy because now at this point, you could be a high tier to mid tier team that just has a shitty run, but they can still find their way into the knockout stage, whether it's second place or maybe third place. But you have to put yourself in the best position possible because this is going to be different. This is where I've even saw the rules. Well, the rules or policy changes. Well, not policy changes, but additions to this because they've had third round. I mean, they had third place teams try to get into either the next round or into the knockout stage in the previous World Cups, which is like over 1 to 2 decades ago or so. But yeah, now high to mid tier teams have pretty much nothing to lose at this point. They can lose one game but still find their way in if they can win and tie up. For mid tier to low tier teams, they actually have a opportunity to qualifying them for the knockout stage, probably for the first time ever or the second time ever, or since they were, a part of Yugoslavia or the Soviet Union, or when they were a part of this team and then they finally split off to being their own independent nation or something like that, that's trying to get into the knockout stage for the first time ever. This is huge. I don't know what to make of this. This is kind of like a college football, college basketball, NIL transfer portal, even though the transferring is not even involved unless it's like an American German or African English or something like that that can go between national teams based on. And it has happened before. But this is kind of like an college NIL situation to where mid to low tier teams that never seem to have a chance of getting into the knockout stage. Now they can. So now we are pretty much here. And we're gonna really find out who gets in and who comes up short. And I think at this point, most likely for the majority of it, like I said, 34% should be able to get in as a third as a third place team in their group. But now we're going to really find out what happens with some of the third place teams that has to battle for the tiebreakers. Because I've and this is where I'm going to be doing the prediction. I'll explain more in a moment. This is where we're going to be doing the prediction to see who can possibly get in. And when I was doing my own research of how this will work with 48 teams, this was pretty interesting. You know, for the teams that ended up in third place, I've only seen teams that finish with probably 3 points, a few with 4 points. I'm trying to figure out if there's a possibility that there could be three teams that could finish with 6 points, which is possible. It has been done before. If there was a possibility that they can try to get in with 2 points, no, there's no chance. I've looked at this and just looking amongst it I might be wrong on this, but this could be a rare shot to maybe a team gets in with 2 points. But this is very rare. Losing and ending with two ties, it's pretty much impossible to get in as a third place team. But anything is possible. Anything can happen. I'm looking at this. There are some dominant teams out there that's gonna likely get it, and then there's some teams that used to be dominant that's kind of dropping a little bit. That's not going to be guaranteed in, but they still have a shot of getting in at second place or third place, depending on the points and the finish and the tiebreakers. Um, Tiebreakers, and I'm going to just explain this to what I have read up to my knowledge. If a team ties with 3 points, it could be like three or four teams in a span of 48 in different groups. And they're trying to get the last spot or last two spots or something. It's going to come down to head to head. Who did they face? The results of it. What was the point difference as far as like, did you lose by 2 points? Did you lose by 15 points? And you do not want to lose by a lot. You could finish with 3 points and tie with another team in a different group, and they could probably lost in total by 2 3 points in the matchups they played, while the other team lost by 15 16 points, got their ass beat probably in the first game, probably the first two games or so, and then finally pulled together, only lost by one or probably tied. You don't want to tie in this situation, or probably one by or two, but it's going to be really, really critical for any team, it doesn't matter who, to not get their ass beat early in this group, because then you're making it so much harder on yourself to try to qualify for a third place. You want to be able to play as hard, no matter what you got to do, even if you have to be a little bit scrappy in these situations, or play majority defense and just counter when you have to. But it is so critical for a team that's trying to break the third place ties amongst other groups to just being able to get into the round of 32. It sounds easy enough, but at the same time, it can be very difficult. And then there was another one, comes down to discipline. How many yellow cards have you had? How many red cards have you had? This also plays into it, because if you tie up with a team that has the same amount of differentials as far as points scored or points scored against, when you guys tie, they're going to go down that line to see what happens. Who was more disciplined? Who didn't get the yellow cards? Who didn't get the red cards and all that stuff? Who was more disciplined? That's going to definitely play into that as well too. We might end up seeing it. We might not. But this is kind of like a sometimes or a rare thing that's going to happen if the tiebreakers just keep going down the line. So you don't want to be that team who loses their cool or makes a stupid mistake that's going to cost them a yellow card or so. We do not want to see that. Okay, I probably explained the simple stuff. Now it's time to get into the group stage. Before I go into explaining it, I wish I had a lot more time to explain each group, because I would love to talk about it. But unfortunately, circumstances happen, life happened. I had some pretty serious stuff that I had to deal with a couple of days ago. It definitely affected my life a whole lot, so I really could not get to this. But I'm just going to explain this about as small as I possibly can, and then we're going to go right into the predictions. So, Group A, we got Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia. This seems like this is Mexico's group, but it is open. because Mexico has not been so hot the past couple of World Cups, especially the last one where they didn't even qualify. You have South Africa, who's pretty vulnerable, but they're able to score points, but they're pretty vulnerable at the same time. If they finally have an answer to the defensive side, then maybe they'll be able to counteract that situation, maybe put themselves in a spot to where they can try to get a third place. South Korea has a chance to get in. They have their star Son Heung Min. I hope I said this right, but he's the veteran. He's the veteran of the South Korean team. They might finally have they might have a chance to get themselves to the round of 32. Czechia is a big, tough team, but we don't know exactly how good they are. There has been history to where they're pretty competitive. They can find their way into the knockout stage, but there's also times to where they just haven't lived up to it because they're not athletic enough to keep up with some of the more athletic teams. So this is kind of a tough draw for them. We move on to Group B. Canada. Canada finally got their taste of the World Cup after the last one. Did not work out for them. They lost all of them. Now they're at home. They already got the feel of it after 30 plus years of not being at the World Cup before this previous World Cup. Now they got to see if they can get that best draw of getting into the knockout stage, whether they win it or not. They do have a tough team like Switzerland, who is pretty experienced. They find themselves into the round of 16 all the time, but they got to find their way past it. Almost every time they get into the round of 16, they seem to come up short every single time, just every single time. And they got to find their way over the hump. If they can find their way to winning this group stage, they may have a better chance of actually advancing because depending on who they face, that's a third place team, they might find their way in. Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's kind of tough to say if they can advance, but they've proven to be a scrappy team. They're going to find ways to give themselves a chance to score, to counter, also play defense if they can. They have a veteran who has played in the last World Cup, I believe 2014, 2018, and he's still on there. His name is Eden. He's the captain, he's the veteran. So if there's any chance B&H can find their way into the round of 32, it's of that guy. Qatar got a taste of the World Cup for the first time. They hosted the World Cup for the first time. Now, let's see if the experience comes through. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they're from the Middle Eastern part of like the Saudi Arabian area or something. If they can be at least a little bit better than what they are, and with how things have been growing over there, they could be an underdog that finds their way into the round of 32. I mean, in their second World Cup, they got a taste of it. Now they got an understanding of the competition, and they might have improved and learned from it. So we'll see where we go with it. And these are just the examples of it, of how much I could explain about this, but I'm not going to go into too much detail of it. It might take me half an hour on it. I just want to be able to get into doing the predictions. And honestly, the next time we have a World Cup, hopefully I have more time for it. Like I said, it was just a lot going on. And then not only that, I had to wait for all the teams to announce their squads, which wasn't until June 1st. So I didn't really have at that time much time to put everything together until that was done, just so it can kind of help me see what each team looked like going into these matchups of the group and going into the round of 32. So I'm sorry about this, but this is just part of the example. I could talk about this all day if I wanted to, but we only have one day before the World Cup starts. So I apologize to all of you guys, but I'm just going to go down each group. I'm not going to explain everything. So Group C: Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, and Scotland. Group D: our US, our country, Paraguay, Australia, and Turkey. Group E: we got Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, or Cota de Ivory, or something like that, and Ecuador. Group F: we got the Netherlands, we got Japan, we got Sweden, and we got Tunisia. In Group G, we got Belgium, Egypt, Iran, and New Zealand. In Group H, we got Spain, Cape Verde, or Cabo Verde as they call it too, Saudi Arabia, and Uruguay. Group I, We got France, Senegal, Iraq, and Norway. Group J, we got Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. In Group K, we got Portugal, Congo, what was it, Dominican Republic, Uzbekistan, and Colombia. And then to finish things off with Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, and Panama. All right. So I've worked on this for a good few days, probably a week or so, just to find out who could possibly advance in each group, who finishes first and second, start things off. And then we get to the third place teams. Who has the best shot of all third place teams amongst them to advance? Whoever finishes, we got 12 of them. We got 12 of the third place teams, and only 8 will be able to get in. This is what we really got to find out. And this took a little bit. I kind of have the obviouses, and then it came down to, well, what about this and what about that and all that stuff. It was a little difficult at times because there's times to where I'm like, okay, I'm seeing the majority of their players making their returns to a team that has advanced and gone the distance. And same thing with that, but they did not go the distance, but did the experience improve this roster? Have they gotten better from that last World Cup? That's another thing. And then for those that aren't experienced, but on a good team, can they continue that consistency? And for those that are dealing with one of their stars being hurt, or the teams that doesn't have much experience but also mid tier to low tier, do they have enough to actually score enough points to get themselves in? The worst thing you can do is draw all three. This gives you a low chance of advancing, while others they have to win at least one to give them a shot of qualifying for the round of 32. That's the best scenario you can get is winning one game at least. If you lose two, it all depends on the result of it. But if you lose two and you lose badly, you might as well just pack your bags and go back to your home country. Unless you're already in the US or Canada or Mexico, then well, you're going to have to deal with the loss and the consequences from all your fans that have supported you for about 3 weeks or so. But yeah, I try to play it all in my head and all that I like just put down as for information on my research. Like I've done previous matchups from previous World Cups. I've done World Cup, like I said, World Cup rosters that have played since 2014, probably even less than that. I didn't go that far. I felt like 2014 was the best I can do with it because majority of the teams are going through new players since 2014 or 18. But surprisingly enough, Ronaldo and Messi are playing once again since what 2006. I don't know if either one of them played in 2002. I didn't go that far back, but yeah, they're playing their fifth, sixth World Cup. This might be their last one, and holy crap, this is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, but that was a lot I had to go through. It was fun. I had a great time doing this because it made me learn a lot more about these teams individually and then the group as a whole. So now that I've got everything out of the way with it, you see right here in this indication, hopefully, this is my setup of everything. So I had the group stages set up. Now we go into the results of group stage. Yeah, let me maximize this as best as I possibly can. There we go. So these are the teams that finished. So in Group A, we have Mexico and South Korea finishing at 1 and 2, and South Korea broke the tie over Czechia. I mean, it's hard for me to say if Czechia really has enough to get through, but I know for sure they might be able to beat South Africa. Like I said, South Africa can score points, but at the same time, they can give up points too. And against Czechia, like I said, Czechia is a physical team. So how does this play out for those 90 minutes plus with them? I do not know. They could tie for all I know, or South Africa could upset Czechia. I'm just going with the best scenario that I possibly can, and this is what I got the result for. I feel like South Korea is just a tad more experienced than both Czechia and South Africa. Again, they got their star, they got their captain. It's enough for them to lead this team into the round of 32. And then of course Mexico. They're at home. They got leverage. They didn't play so hot the last two World Cups, but this is where they can finally bounce back and get themselves back into the round of 32, whether they finish first, which most likely they should, or finish second place, whether it's a tiebreaker or they lose to South Korea or something happens with it. But they should be able to advance at the number one and get themselves a good spot and see who they match up against in the third place. In the third place in the round of 32. Group B, I have Switzerland and Canada tying. It's kind of difficult for me to believe Canada took a step, but they do have experienced players coming back. However, they have one of their stars that's hurt, and he most likely might not play in the first game to start things out with the World Cup. His name is Davies. He suffered an injury sometime, I think a few weeks ago, a month ago or so. He's been out for a good bit. So just with him being out, this is why I have Canada finishing with 5 points. I don't know how the first game goes for them. They could end up tying with somebody and it'll be kind of like an upset to an extent. But I just feel like, okay, they might be down one. They're not totally up to being mid-tier to high-tier level. They're probably still kind of in their stage to where they're just trying to get the feel for everything after not being in the World Cup for a long time. But I know they'll get a win off of probably Qatar, and then they'll end up tying up against Bosnia Herzegovina and Switzerland. I expect Switzerland to finish at first. They're just a bit more experienced. They got more experienced players. They have their veteran. I'm trying to think who his name is. Granit Xhaka, who I don't know if he's going to play his final World Cup, but I know he's definitely back in it with his team. Again, they have some experience. They should be able to do enough to get themselves over. They could finish with 7 points too. But this is where I end up seeing them with 5 points because it's an open group. They're expected to win, but I think this might be a little bit of a challenge. I do not want to give Bosnia Herzegovina that much flack over it. I think they're scrappy enough to make things interesting for it. But yeah, I have Bosnia Herzegovina finishing with 4 points because I feel like they're going to tie against Canada and they get a win off of Qatar. Probably lose to Switzerland most likely, but then who knows what's going to happen. In Group C, I have Brazil and Morocco tying at 7. Analysts believe Brazil should be able to clear the group stage no problem. I have no idea how the first game's going to go. Brazil's a good team. I'm I'm not kidding. And this is kind of biased for me, non-biased. I think they're a good team. I don't think they're great. They have not really been high tier World Cup championship level for probably a long time. I think since before 2010. And this is my opinion because they've lost to some European teams in the knockout stage more than once. And God help me, this has annoyed me so much. And to kind of make matters worse, I don't know if they can beat Morocco. Morocco has shown some gritty defensive play, and they have players that can actually counter and score. So Brazil's a good team again. They're a good team. They got some attackers, they got some strikers. They got a nice goalkeeper. But there's times to where the middle to the back end is just a bit questionable. I just don't know how this will play out in this type of situation. Have they gotten better? I'm hoping they have, but it has been kind of questionable prior to them qualifying for the World Cup. It just wasn't a great start to them in their play of ball, but I guess they finally started to figure things out a little bit. And then my biggest question is, can Neymar stay healthy and actually play like a superstar like he's supposed to be? Because he has not impressed me. I'm sorry. I've seen some good moments from him, I think, since 2014, but I'm just like, where's the consistency? You've gotten hurt so many times. You flopped so many times. Can you just play ball, dude? I need you to get over the hump. I wasn't expecting him to be on the roster going into this. I was expecting Vicinius Jr. to be the next star for him, probably. I don't know what this team looks like, but this gives Morocco a chance to potentially try to get the tiebreaker to get to win the group. Um, and then you have Scotland and Haiti. I didn't explain much to them because I don't think they're going to advance. Maybe Scotland makes things interesting. It's a European team after all. We can't question them that much. It's kind of like the Big Ten soccer pretty much. And then Haiti, I think they're gonna have growing pains. I think they're gonna get punished by all three of them. I'm sorry. Like I can't even say Haiti's better than Scotland. I think Scotland's just better than them. And then we move on to Group D, of course. You can say I'm biased because I live in the US, but but I I think they're still young. I think they're still trying to figure things out. It's just going to take a lot of organization and teamwork for me to believe the US is making progress. I think they're making some progress, but there is times to where it can't just be Christian Pulisic. There's got to be other players. In comes Australia. I have them finishing second place. They have a shot of finishing second place. They've been to the round of 16 a few times in the past. They could make the round of 32, no problem, probably. Maybe they have a tough time against Turkey and Turkey outplays them. I've heard Turkey's pretty good. I haven't watched enough of them to believe, but I think Turkey has a chance to advancing to the round of 32 as well too. And then Paraguay, it was tough for me to believe they can advance. I don't know if they have enough star or firepower for it. I don't know how good they are. Watching them when they were playing in Brazil, they were entertaining to watch, but they still didn't make the round of 16. I don't know if they can do it here. But the great thing about it is I got to see their fireworks send off. I would watch it on X. I would watch it on YouTube. Just find it on your socials. You'll see the awesomeness of it. That was beautiful. But yeah, I have the US finishing at number one. I'm just gonna say they'll finish at number one, probably 7 points, maybe 6 points. Who knows? And then I have Australia finishing second. It could go either way between them and Turkey, and then Paraguay not getting 8 points. They could get one. They could upset somebody. I just don't know. I just don't know they can get past it. Group E, I think Germany can clear this out, but they haven't looked so great. I think they got. I think they got eliminated. I think they got eliminated twice. They just haven't been themselves since winning in Brazil, which kind of is karma because that really annoyed the hell out of me. That Brazil got their asses destroyed by Germany and then followed it up against the Netherlands in the third place game. It was just really embarrassing for me to watch, and I really hated it. So the fact that Germany got ousted twice in their group, like, dude, that is so crazy to think about this. Could this happen again to Germany? No. Because now they can finish things up. They can find themselves looking like they're going to get ousted again, but they can finish third place and get into the round of 32. I just don't see it happening. The only possibility it could is if Ecuador can just do enough to outplay them. I just don't see it happening. They might tie them up since it's like the last game. I think the last matchup against them. But if you know anything about Germany, Germany usually kills their first opponent at the start of the group stage. And then it all comes down to the second game. Are they kind of coasting a little bit? Are they a little bit murky, a little bit tired after their first game? Or do they continue their consistency, win, get 6 points, and then just coast knowing for the fact they already qualified? That's usually the Germany type of football that we see. We don't know yet. So I expect Germany to win the group, even in the tiebreaker against Ecuador. I think Ecuador is good enough to make it to the round of 32 because I just don't think Ivory Coast is that good. They might be entertaining to watch, just like when they played in South Africa World Cup. And Curacao, it's nice to see them make the World Cup debut. I just don't see them getting past. So, yeah. Sorry about it, but it's nice to know you guys are in. Group F. I think the Netherlands should clear it out. Sweden might make it tough on them. Japan might make it competitive for them. I just think they clear things out. They're really good. They got experience all over. And they've been good in the past as well too. They got to, I believe, the top. I'm not. I'm hoping I don't want to mistake myself. So you're going to be seeing a little bit of what I worked on my Excel. Let's see. World Cup history. You're gonna get a peek at what I've done. No, not this one. I'm sorry. Let's go to World Cup matchup history. There we go. Okay. Yep. See, this is what I've been working on. Okay, so they made the quarterfinals in 2022. They were this close to getting into the semifinals, but they have been to a third place game. They've been to a second place game before. So this is a really good Netherlands team. They might find themselves in the semifinals. It is a high possibility. All right, so we go back here. I think Japan gets in as well too. I believe Sweden can get in. It could go either way for both of them. They could make the round of 32 in third place. They're that good. They're that experienced. They're that experienced for it. And then Tunisia, it's kind of hard for me to say they're going to get more than 1 2 points. They could be a dark horse. I don't know. I just don't really see it. They could be competitive. I just don't know if they're enough to actually compete with the likes of the Netherlands, Japan maybe. They might have a chance against Sweden, but I just don't know. Group G, I expect Belgium to bounce back and finish with 7 points. In one of the games they could tie up. I have them tying up, I believe, against Iran, if I'm not mistaken. I expect Iran to finish second place. Now I know there's a lot of political stuff going on. I know this is a big deal. It could likely be a distraction for Iran. Or this might be a benefit for them that they're getting away from this. They don't want to be a part of this noise. They just want to go out and play soccer. What's tough is just the fact that this whole issue is happening with them against the US and they have to move from their camp in the US down to Mexico. It is a tough situation. I'm sorry to hear about that from them. And I'm not talking about whatever the whole political bullshit's going on over there. I'm just talking to them as humans. I can imagine what they're going through and they're just trying to be focused enough to play. They're a good team. They're a good competitive team. They really have not advanced past the round of to the round of 16 that much, but this is a competitive team that may actually have a chance of actually getting themselves in second or third place. I expect the same from Egypt. Mo Salah should be healthy for this one, unlike the last World Cup in 2018, where Mo was nowhere to be found. And I've heard so much hype about this kid, but I just haven't really seen him on the pitch until the second game, I believe, and then him scoring in the third game. That was nice to see, but I just kind of wish he could have been out there. I would have loved to see Egypt go the distance. This one, though, I actually have them going to the round of 32. So I hope to see Mo there in um in that round of 32. And then New Zealand, it's been a while since they've been into the World Cup. I think since 2010. They still have one of their players who played in that last one, but I just don't think New Zealand has enough to even compete with the likes of those two or three. So I think they actually get no more than a tie probably. With Group H, I expect Spain to clear things out. This is a great team, experience mixed with youth. Who was it? Lamine Yamal. I've heard so many great things about him being the next star and probably the face of the future World Cup games being played. So I'm interested in seeing how he does because I've watched his Euro Cup game and my God, this kid is so fucking awesome to watch. Saudi Arabia. So this is surprising to a lot of you that have him getting 7 points. So don't mistake in this because this is just something that I saw from the last one. The fact they upset Argentina really just kind of surprised me. But then hearing what Saudi Arabia as a whole as a country have done for the past few years, including after that, I just feel like maybe they took a step with it. And I'm thinking this to an NIL standpoint. It could be bullshit for all I'm saying. But I see Saudi Arabia advancing to the round of 32. This might be a little bit too high for them, but I see them advancing. But you're also wondering why do I have Uruguay finishing in third place with just 4 points? One of their stars might be at risk of not playing. He suffered an injury in one of the games he played prior, and they've already lost. They've already lost Luis Suarez and who was it? Edison Cav- Edison Cavani. Thank you, Edison Cavani. They lost both of them, and including Diego Godin, who played for a good while too. So they're going through new players, and they're looking for a star. And they thought, I think Georgian was going to be the next star, But since he's potentially out for a while, or probably for the World Cup, maybe, I think Uruguay takes a step backwards. I don't remember if they even got to the round of 16 the last time they played. Let's find out. No, they did not. No, they did not. And they had their veteran stars playing that last one as well too, with Georgian being on that roster. But now, with that being the case, I have Uruguay finishing in third just because of that. But I expect them to beat Cape Verde. I believe they can tie up with Saudi Arabia and maybe beat them as well too. But I don't see them beating Spain. Spain is just too damn good. Now we move on to Group I. I expect France to clear the group. They could tie probably in their last game because they already know they got 6 points. There's really nothing more they can do. They'll just probably just dink and dunk with someone, maybe letting them win and getting into the World Cup round of 32 as well. I have Norway. I don't know anything or much about Norway, but one is Erling Holland, if I'm pronouncing it right. Apparently, he's a star. I saw some of his ads prior to like matchups that they're playing, and then Norway has had some history to where they got into the round of 16 or round of whatever and advanced. So, oh, and most importantly, I saw their Vikings pick. My God, that is so freaking awesome. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna give Norway a chance just because of their star and the Vikings pick. And I think they advanced to the round of 32. I think they advance and get in second place. If Senegal happens to bypass them, I wouldn't be surprised. But I expect Norway to get to the round of 32. Senegal, especially, I expect them to get one win. They probably lose one and then tie one or tie both. But I expect Senegal to get into the round of 32 as well. They have enough experience for it. And hopefully I do not get this mixed up with another green team like Ecuador. But I think Senegal has Sadio Mane, if I pronounce that right. That's one of their better stars. And I'm gonna actually find out so I won't make a mistake. Let's go to roster history. And you're gonna get a little piece of this because this is the information that I've been working on for a while as well, too. Let's go to Senegal. Yep, they have Sadio Mane. Yep, they have him. He played in the 2018 World Cup. Unfortunately, he could not play the last one because he was hurt, but they're glad to have him, even though they did make it to the round of 16. But having him, this gives them optimism to maybe upset in the round of 32. Probably. Now we move on to Group J. No questions with Argentina. I expect them to clear things out. They may have some new players, kind of replacing some of the veteran stars, but they still have Lionel Messi. You can't count him out. You can't question it. I expect Argentina just to clear this group out. This is probably the cakewalkiest of walks for them in this group. And I don't think they have to deal with Saudi Arabia as well, too. So that's the good thing about it. But stay tuned. Algeria, I expect them to advance. They're experienced. They're competitive. I don't see them not getting to the round of 32. I would be surprised. I kind of expect Austria to do the same thing as well too. I'm not that familiar with them, but they do have a defender star in David Alaba, and then a few good strikers. But I just don't know how good they are. But I expect them to get in as a third place team probably. And then there's Jordan. I don't know anything about them. Maybe they're a no slouch team. Maybe they can be competitive. I don't know much about this Asian Middle Eastern team, but I'm going to learn a lot quickly about them once they play teams like Algeria and Austria. Unless they're like Saudi Arabia and upsets Argentina out of nowhere, but I don't think that's going to happen. In Group K, this is kind of like a toss up between Portugal and Colombia, but I expect them both to advance. Most likely, Portugal wins the group stage, but I expect no slouch from Colombia. They have experience on that team led by James Rodriguez. And then Portugal, same thing, experience. They got a young star coming up, probably to replace Cristiano Ronaldo, but I don't know yet. But we know for sure they got Cristiano Ronaldo who wants to make it through, try to win the whole thing before he retires on top. So I'm going to give them this grace and just finish up the group on top over Colombia in a tiebreaker. And then there's Uzbekistan. It was kind of like back and forth. I don't know if I could see them advancing the group stage. I really don't. I'm just trying to figure it out with them. but I just don't know. If they do, they got apparently from what I've read, they got upstarting talent that could end up being good for this roster. So this is interesting to see, especially how they play against Portugal and Colombia. I just want to see if there is any sort of matchup. I just don't see it with the size and the lack of athleticism to keep up with them. I just don't see it. And then Congo, I just don't know much about them. I think this is their first time in the World Cup. I think they go through growing pains real quick. And then we close things out with Group L with England. Probably getting the top spot. We're probably tying up with Croatia. This is my only thought with them. I just think, and this is just me, God, and it's tough too. Okay, so I look at England kind of like the Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Timberwolves of soccer because for how good this roster is built, they just don't seem to have the ceiling to get over the hump. This is just my opinion of them. They always have high expectations of being championship contenders, and they just don't meet those expectations. That's my comparison with them to the Timberwolves and to the Buffalo Bills. But maybe this is different because it's so wide open with the round of 32. They might be able to get over the hump and actually maybe make a deep run to probably go into the championship. But I just don't know. I see them as a quarterfinals team, a semifinals team, probably at the highest. That's my ceiling with them. But if they can just do more, if they can just do extra more to close things out how they start, then I can believe they can actually win the whole thing. But it'll be interesting if they did win on the U.S. home soil. That would be very interesting. Maybe go into the historical points as well too. Croatia, I expect them to get into the round of 32. This is an aging team, but I think this team can still do it. I mean, they have been the grittiest of teams. They are the cardiac Croatians for a reason. They just do not quit. They do not lie down for anybody. They could be down by one or two scores. They find a way to come back and just force extra time to wear those teams out and then somehow win in advance. Brazil happened to be the victim of it from the last World Cup. God, it pissed me off so much because looking at it, I felt like when they scored, I'm like, thank God we can finally get past this nightmare and actually beat a European team. And then very late into this, before the extra time, no, Croatia ties, and I'm like, you got it. Think kidding me? And then we lose, I think, in extra time. So yeah, that was a nightmare that I still relive over. Not as bad as Germany and the Netherlands following up in Brazil on Brazil's home soil, but still, that's the nightmare field that I got to go through. And then there's Ghana and Panama. This is one of those two teams that could be the Cinderellas that could find their way in. I just don't know. But again, with Croatia being an aging team, this might give Ghana or Panama an opportunity to potentially upset them and kind of put themselves into the field of play for a round of 32. Especially Panama, who's kind of in their home continent. They're not too far away from where they are. So this gives them a chance to actually kind of like do something and maybe make something happen. They were a scrappy and gritty team during the CONCACAF play. They showed what they can do. They upsetted the U.S. as well, too, of all things. I think Gold Cup or something, whatever. But if that is the case, if that boosts their confidence enough, then maybe they might do something in the World Cup. But this is something we'll just have to watch for. We'll see what the first game looks like for them. Okay, so you see the red marks. This is the teams that have advanced. So we get past that. Third place teams. You see all these? You see the third place ones? If you can. If they have 4 points, then they qualify. It doesn't matter what the tiebreaker is. They qualified because you just need 8 to get through. This is exactly what I'm saying. Because you got 16 that advanced. You need. Hold on. Sorry. I don't want to get this whole thing mixed up. You got 24 teams that advanced. You need 8 more teams to make the round of 32. And again, as I said before, there's 4 teams at the bottom that are trying to fight for a third place, and they only have a 34% chance of getting in third place and qualifying for the round of 32. And when they do, They got to play the first place teams that qualified. And I'm just gonna name off the group teams in first place that will face those third place teams. We're talking Group A, Group B, Group D, Group E, Group G, I, K, and L. And here's the formatting of it. Okay, so this is the formatting. And this was complicated to begin with, but it's starting to come out and make sense. So, depending on what happens with the third place teams and the tiebreakers and all that, this is what we're going to get. And there's a massive combinations of how this could play out. Whether it's Group A through any team for Group A and L, you need just the 8 teams of those groups to advance. And whoever does advance and qualifies for it will be matched up with any of those 8 teams that are up top here. So I went through all of it, and thank God they had this format. I just hope that's what I'm going to look into. This is something I'm going to really pay attention to. So before we get to that, I'm going to name off the teams that qualified, and it's pretty much self-explanatory. I made this tough on myself because I wasn't sure about a couple of teams that could get into the round of 32, but these are the teams that I have. So you got Czechia from Group A, Bosnia and Herzegovina from Group B, Turkey from Group D, Sweden from Group F, Egypt from Group G, Uruguay from Group H, Senegal from Group I, and Austria from Group J. There you go. Do your best to remember this or write this down so then you have an idea for yourself. So let's go back to the table. So once you find those groups that have advanced and qualified to get into the round of 32, pay attention to where the formatting is. And for me, this is number 334. These are the third place teams that qualified, and this is who they're going to be matched up. So you're going to see this on the Excel sheet. So this is where we have the teams in round of 32. So we have Czechia from Group A. Wait, hold on. I don't want to get this mixed up. Okay. So we have Czechia from Group A that's facing Belgium, who won their group. You have Bosnia and Herzegovina from Group B that's facing the US. You have Turkey from Group D. Wait, hold on. Yeah, I don't want to get this mixed up. I do not want to get this mixed up. See, this is complicated. I'm hoping this works out once we're past 3 weeks of the group stages. So in Group D, we have Turkey. They face Germany. We have Sweden from Group F. They face France. We have Egypt from Group G that face Switzerland. We have Uruguay from Group H that faces Mexico. We have Senegal from Group I that's facing Portugal. And then we have Austria from Group J that's facing England. Now that we have got those matchups out of the way, let's go through the rest that have not been mentioned. I'm going to try to make this as large as possible. Okay. So for the rest of these, for the rest of the teams that qualified, first place and second place, second place, we have South Korea that's facing Canada, Netherlands facing Morocco, Colombia facing Croatia, Spain and Algeria, Brazil and Japan, Ecuador and Norway, Argentina and Saudi Arabia. Yeah, that's That's a crazy scenario I put in. I made a couple of changes on it, and somehow Saudi Arabia ended up in Argentina's side. So I'm like, holy crap, no, we do not want to go through this crap with Saudi Arabia. No way in hell. Let's move on. Australia versus Iran. And yes, that's it. So these are the 32 teams that qualified. And I did the best I can to make it possibly work. If I have any mistakes on it, that's on me for it, but I did it about as much as I possibly can to just be right, only because of the freaking third place template that I just followed off of it. Hopefully, it does come to fruition once the third game of every game of the World Cup group stage is done. So now, you guys might be thinking to yourselves, okay, who's possibly going to advance? Who might get the upset? Blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. I did all those theories and stuff just to kind of have an idea. So now we move on to the round of 16. So these are the teams that advance. So we have Germany and France playing against each other. We have South Korea and Netherlands playing against each other. Sorry, Canada. We have Croatia facing up against Spain. This was tough with me with Colombia and Croatia. It could have gone either way. I feel like this could be one of those gritty, tough cardiac matchups. It's tense. It probably goes into extra time too. Who knows? Then we got the US and Belgium advancing. We got Brazil and Norway. This is going to be an interesting one if it's possible. I would love to see how Erling plays against them. I would not be sad if Norway beats Brazil. I would be willing to root for them. We got Mexico and England. Pretty interesting matchup. We got Argentina versus Iran. I have Iran advancing. I think they got a chip on their shoulder. I think they're going to make things interesting to where they might cause some issues with Australia, probably force extra time, and maybe force them into penalty kicks. God, wouldn't that make it very interesting for some of the fans in our home country on how they feel about this? And then we got Switzerland and Portugal. All right. So after this gets really interesting. Some of these might be obvious, and then others is like, what? Okay. So we got France beating Germany. This shouldn't be a surprise. We all have been used to Germany being such a dominant team, but France is just so good. They got a massive roster and they have less weaknesses. So I have them advancing over Germany. I think Germany is going to have a few flaws that just goes against them on that one. Then we got Spain in the US. I think the US finds a way against Belgium. Belgium's an aging team. I still think they're going to be competitive. I still think they're going to make it tough on the US. I just think the US finds a way. I think eventually there's going to be someone else that steps up along Christian Pulisic, hopefully Gio Reyna, and just gets them over the hump, which could be a massive upset and a huge victory for us as well too. This would be massive. And then we move on to Brazil and England. I kind of like this matchup. This makes it really interesting because this is kind of like we find out if Brazil is Brazil again or if England finally has a shot of making it and maybe possibly getting to the finals as well too. This is a big matchup. I think this is like one of the most watched matchups that we got to see. And then we got Argentina and Portugal. Think about it. Argentina and Portugal. You got Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo facing each other. The aged superstars that played since '06, probably '02, for a long time. As many games as possible that they've had in their history. And they're about to close their career in this matchup. Whoever wins is a huge mark of it. They got a chance to win the whole thing one more time. Whoever loses, this is a shameful disappointment. I wouldn't say that much for Argentina because they already won. Lionel Messi went on top with his. So there's really nothing else he needs to do for it, but it would be nice for him to go back to back. But man, Portugal getting past Cristiano Ronaldo, finally having a chance to try to go to the finals. This would be huge. This would be, oh man, I can imagine the headlines right now. All right. So we're into this. We're into the quarterfinals. This is one of the toughest draws for some of the teams. The U.S. has gotten this far as well too. This is where the headlines start taking form and fans are getting all excited about this. And then we have France and the Netherlands playing a huge matchup against each other. The big time superstar elite team versus the big time teams that's becoming elite at this point with this group just still rolling. And I already explained this about Brazil and England and then Portugal and Argentina. So how does this play out? Who goes to the semifinals? The Netherlands upset France. What? Huh? How? I think the Netherlands are just the grittier team. I think they have a lot more motivation on playing better than France. I think they try to find ways to compact Mbappe as much as they possibly can. I don't know how this plays out. This could go either way. This could be one of those things to where it forces extra time, or this is like a dramatic finish in the 90th minute or close to the 90th minute or something like that. But this plays into the drama of how this plays out. We're thinking France is going to advance, but the Netherlands, nope. They kick him out from going to the semifinals. Holy crap, this would be huge. And then Spain gets over the hump against the US. This is a huge heartbreaker for our country. I'm really sorry, United States. I'm really sorry. But I think Spain's the better team. I think they were built to be a championship team. And Lamal and Yamin Lamal, Yum, sorry, Yamal Lamine. I'm trying to get this right. I gotta get this right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know I'm ruining the drama right now, but we're gonna get this right. Lamine Yamal. Okay. All right, let's get right back to the drama. But I think Spain is just a better talented team. I think the US just gets a learning lesson from them. And then hopefully that helps them grow for the next World Cup with these guys that are becoming growing stars, more experienced. This is something that we were hoping for, but just getting to the quarterfinals and just being close to the semifinals, I think you should take this as a huge accomplishment. This is not a disappointment. If we were to lose against Bosnia and Herzegovina, then that's a disappointment. But I expect them to get as far as they could, upset Belgium, and try to play as hard as they could against Spain, but I think Spain overwhelms them. And then I'm disappointed. I'm sad. England beats Brazil, probably a close game, back and forth, probably 1, 2 points scored. But I think England finds a way to win because they're just more disciplined, they're more experienced against Brazil that will be volatile at times. We need Neymar to do more, and he's just not getting it done, or he tries to, it's just not enough. Who knows what happens? I know about his injury history. He probably gets hurt after Norway. We don't have him in this one. And then it takes Vicinius and the rest of the group to try to pick things up, and it's just not enough. And we just have another European heartbreaker. But hold on, we did break that streak by beating Norway, but we just can't beat the elite Europeans still. We just find a way just to not show up and not finish things off. And then, well, we already explained about Argentina and Portugal. We already explained about that. So, oh wait, no, no, no. I didn't explain about it. I got so hyped up over it. So I have Portugal beating Argentina for this one reason. Argentina already has a championship. I think they compete, but Portugal is more experienced. I think they get over the hump against Argentina. Huge heartbreaking for Argentina fans that's actually in America because Lionel Messi plays for Miami, right? And this becomes a huge heartbreaker for him. Just like Brazil, my heartbreak. Just like the US, big heartbreak. Just like France, huge upset. Holy crap. This is a huge heartbreak for Argentina fans, but this is great for Portugal because now Cristiano Ronaldo has an opportunity to close things out and go on top with his final World Cup career, trying to go to the championship and win the whole entire thing. This is huge. This is huge. Sorry about this because I thought I already explained about Argentina and Portugal. No, this was kind of like hyping up for it. But no, this is the result. This is we have Portugal going past Argentina to the semifinals. So now, who makes the finals and who goes into third place? This was tough for me as well too. I'm just like, this was a very tough decision, man, because it could go either way for any of them. Like they're all so good. All right, I have the Netherlands and Portugal making the finals. Um, and this was a tough one. I have Portugal making the finals because this is Cristiano Ronaldo's final World Cup of his career, right? I think Portugal has enough motivation to get over the hump against England. As good as England is, I still don't think they break through. I think Portugal finds a way to break through. It could be Cristiano being the one to get the biggest goal to get them to the finals, or someone else, whether it's an experienced player or a young and upcoming player that ends up getting that big time goal that gets them over the hump. Or it might be extra time, or it might be penalty kicks. I expect this game to be about as tense and dramatic as possible, just with Portugal getting over. Spain and Netherlands. One of those teams are built to make the finals probably almost every time. I just think Netherlands are more experienced than Spain. I think Spain gets humbled. They do have a few experienced players, but it just feels like the pieces aren't just fully there to just be up where France or the Netherlands are. And I just think the Netherlands do just enough to get over and get back to the finals after some time. So now I have the Netherlands and Portugal facing each other, which should be a great matchup, to be honest. And then Spain and England, low key good matchup. So who gets third place and who gets the entire thing? Just I'm gonna give it just a little bit, just to think about it. Some of you might already know, or maybe you're thinking, well. So we'll start off with third place. Yeah, you already know who won. I could have done more. I could have just kind of pushed it over to who wins the finals, but I might as well do that. I'll learn for the next one in 4 years. Spain beats England. Spain suffered a loss against the Netherlands, but they feel motivated enough they can still play for third place. They outpace England. I just don't think England has enough to keep up with Spain. Spain is just so dangerous with the ball in their feet. They're just too damn good. They're too damn athletic, and experienced, and their young star. I'm just not going to keep fighting this off. I'm just not going to keep fighting with it. Lamine Yamal. I think they do more to beat England, and it might actually be a bigger separation than what it is a close game. They could win by two or three goals for all I know. And then Portugal and the Netherlands. I picked Portugal to win the whole thing. I would love to see Cristiano Ronaldo go on top. The fact that Messi was able to win his championship, I think it's time that this aging superstar closes his career on top the right way. He's gotten so much scrutiny, so much criticism during his peak points of his career, well, his upcoming star career and his peak point career. And I think this is kind of like, I feel like the teams are going to pull together. They know this is it for him probably, and they're just going to go on a run and just do everything possible to get over the hump. And I'm surprised I did not highlight this part of it in the winners section, but I don't care. But yeah, I think Portugal gets over the hump against the Netherlands. I think this is good. This is probably going to be a good game. It might be a low scoring, might be some scoring, who knows, but it's going to be a tense matchup. It's going to be a battle to the finish. There might be some scrappiness because I know how Portugal players play. In the Netherlands, they do not back down from nobody. But I expect this to be a closure to where Cristiano Ronaldo hoists that World Cup trophy on our home soil. All right, that is it for me. It sucks I did not get to talk like in depth about the group stages. I've had a lot planned for it, and I was really excited to talk about it, but I had a lot going on, and then I had a tough couple of days with some personal stuff. But yeah, I'm glad I had the energy and the pep just to be able to come up on here and just talk about this. I did the best I can to kind of be knowledgeable. I kind of wish I could explain more about the group stages, but hey, there's 4 years down the line for it. Or maybe I could talk about it next year with the women's. Women's World Cup is coming up next year, so that I'm excited about as well. So Yeah, you can screenshot this if you want to. Maybe just take it as a reminder of it. You guys might have your own predictions of who's going to win the whole thing. Some might say the U.S. as well too. But I'm just gonna throw in a little bullshit theory for all of you before I close this out. With everything that has gone on for our country, and with who we have to deal with, imagine Iraq and Iran playing each other in the World Cup finals. Holy crap! Holy crap! Oh my god! Oh, oh man! Oh, this is not what we. This is not what anybody will want. But this is my chaos theory. An Iraq Iran final. No way. But let's not go that far. I don't think it's gonna happen. Uh, knock on wood. But if it were to happen, holy crap, man! I don't know what to think about it. It's already making me a little bit winded thinking about it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing my World Cup predictions, everything. And to close things out, I just want you guys to understand this. I know this has been kind of a bullshit situation with the World Cup tickets, with Infantino and Donald Trump kind of causing a lot of crap happening and everything, and the TSAs and the visa issues and stuff, just making it difficult for teams like Iran and South Africa, and some of the officials that are just trying to get into the country or getting into the country and just finding out, well, sorry, we can't do this for you, or you're not qualified to do this and everything. I hate this situation. I hate this is becoming a thing. I want this to be a welcoming moment for every team and for the fans alike that just want to go and watch the World Cup, you know? And this has been tough. This has been tough for a lot of people. This has upset me because this is kind of dampening my excitement for it. This is my first time going to a World Cup game in my life. Since I got introduced to this in middle school, in 2006, I was already hooked on it. Like, okay, I'm interested in watching more World Cup games. When is it? 4 years down the line? Okay, I'll be prepared for it. And since then, I have not gone back on it. From the Vuvuzelas to Brazil hosting to the tensions of the Russians hosting a World Cup, of things working out though to where France was able to win it, and then Lionel Messi getting his first World Cup championship in the last one. So I want this to be where the fans can just enjoy their experience of just the World Cup, just either just enjoying their time, having fun, learning about the game more, or just being out with with their fans, with their family, whatever, just partying, having a having a great time. There's so many different cultures that has their own setup of their World Cup experience. Like, I want to see what that's like once I go. I'm going to an actual World Cup game. I'm going to watch it. And I want to be a part of this. I want to learn more about their culture, what brought them to the US to go watch it. Or if there was like fans who want to become Qatar fans or Switzerland fans or something. Or there's other fans around. I'm repping my Brazil shit. I'm probably going to be the only Brazil fan in that stadium amongst the Reds and Maroons. And I expect people to look for me in that yellow gear because I'm going to wear it. But I want this to be a moment to where the fans could be excited for it. This is once every 4 years type of thing. Just just forget about the political bullshit that's going on, and just do your best to not let this dampen on your excitement of going to watch the World Cup, even if somehow Iraq and Iran happen to play each other in the World Cup finals. Just embrace this moment because this is history for us. We are the first country to have 48 teams finally on the format with three countries playing. I think this is the first time three countries in one World Cup are hosting. So this is history for all of us and for people included in this. You're going to be in the history books somehow for those moments because they're going to have something happening and then you're going to say, "Well, I was a part of this. I actually went to witness that game." Or, you watched it, but you got to see what it was like. You had your story behind it of where you are when this whole thing happened. Just enjoy the moment of the World Cup and just embrace the fans coming. This is where everybody should be coming together as a unified group. It shouldn't just be one group. It shouldn't just be a divide of it. It has to be a unity. This happens once every 4 years, roughly. So I hope you guys can find some positivity in that. And then after it's done, we're done with it. Because right now, I prefer watching this and the Stanley Cup finals instead of this fucking NBA bullshit. And you guys know what I'm talking about as well, too. So, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my content. I did the best I could to make it work. Um, and yeah, once I'm done watching the game, I'll have my 2 minute talk over it on social media. If you want to follow my post, I have a website called lonewolf1225.com, all lowercase. I would check that out. I have some nice content. And then I have all 12 of the groups that has a bit more explanation on what the matchups are going to be like for it. So I would just check it out. It's totally worth it. You would enjoy it. And there's other sports contents that I talk about. I do mostly football. I do a tad bit of basketball, just to some extent. And then I do the World Cup once every 4 years. I do this content for the World Cup as well too. But yeah, y'all have a great night. Peace out.